My name is John O'Balliet, and I'm a comic artist and illustrator. And today I will be talking about peer critiques. Let's see. My son said I always say too much, so I'll try not to. And I did again. Viewers. So, let's start the presentation off with animatic.
Yes, my magnum opus is complete. I know, I think I'll take it down to the Ann Arbor Comics Farm and show them my work. Oh yeah, I like that one. Who's that? Hey guys, what do you think of my comic? Man, oh geez, that's terrible. Wait.
I don't see them. Where'd he go?
Yeah, they were kind of mean to him, huh?
Yeah.
And you know what? That can actually happen in peer critiques, but it's not a very nice thing. Before I decided to take on this topic, I spoke to my friend who's an artist and went to art school in Chicago. Now, I've undergone peer critiques and they've gone bad. Yeah, they treated him pretty bad. And in my experience, I've been in critiques where people cried, where people stormed out of the room. My friend said he had the same experience at some really bad critique sessions. And critique groups are notorious for breaking apart because of hurt feelings and all kinds of terrible things. But this is not the design of a critique, and that's not the way they're supposed to go. They're supposed to be helpful for the artist. And I'd like to share some techniques that can keep critiques in that area. This is what a critique is. It's a review and constructive criticism of a peer's work. And the first item that I would cover is to be respectful and try to keep your comments that are in a more helpful light. One of the main things you can do to help each other out in a critique is to ask questions. And that's both the person being critiqued and the person who's being the helpful critiquer, the critiquee and the critiquer, so to speak. Asking questions helps lay the groundwork for the critique, and it really fleshes out the ideas of the artist who's being critiqued, as well as you want to ask questions of that person and basically have a dialectic, a back and forth to find the problems that the artist is having. One thing about comics is there's a whole variety of comics, and we discussed that in the last session, where there's superhero comics and there's memoir comics, and certain people favor certain types of comics, but we all make different types of comics, and in order to do that, we really want to be respectful of that person's selected type of comics, and try not to put our own stylistic kind of spin on it. The object is to determine the desired direction of the artist, and that's basically what I just said. Yeah, you want to try and not let your style preferences cloud your helpful comments, like, I think you should have cake. And you want to keep the artist's direction in mind when giving feedback. I think that's doubly important because you don't want to necessarily make that artist abandon their direction. You want to help them strengthen their direction. And you can do this by being helpful and asking the good questions. You want to try and provide suggestions using the answers provided by the artist. Their answers to your questions will help you give, good advice, or, basically point them in a direction that they might want to go. So a lot of the critique is about listening and observing their artwork. At the end of the day, it's about empowerment. You want the artist to feel good about themselves and have some options to overcome his or her problems. Above all, try to be helpful. Avoid making personal comments. Look at your shirt. See? How is that helpful? Avoid using aggressive language. And where I'm going to go with this is there is certain things in art criticism that have been kind of tried and true language that is used in peer criticism called the elements and principles of design. Some of you may be very familiar with these, especially if you've gone to art school or took advanced art classes in school. But some of you may have never heard of these things. Who's heard of the elements and principles of design? Anyone? We use in peer criticism and help artists pinpoint certain parts of their work using a uniform set of terms. These are the elements, and we're all pretty familiar with most of these terms. Form is the three-dimensional appearance of what I would say in our sphere of the comic. Most comics are in regular book form, but the book forms vary, and some are even three-dimensional. There's cube comics and pyramid comics that are not necessarily very common, but still the form is different. First is emphasis. It's using points of interest to guide the viewer's eye to the important parts of the composition or the panel. Talk about things like emphasis when you create like word balloons, like action word balloons, POW. You can do that. Use those. You can use all kinds of other tools to create emphasis. Maybe lines that point to a certain spot, or steal a technique from a friend who we're going to draw a comic, if you like, in the space provided. Three things. Three person, place, and thing. I was stealing a technique. Yes, that's right. So, give me a person. Go for it.
I'm partial to the Abe Lincoln.
You're going to go Abe Lincoln again. All right, it's good. How about a place? Anybody?
Now let's beat Leverett.
Go ahead.
A really windy sidewalk.
All right, a really windy sidewalk. And how about another person? Go ahead.
Ron Weasley.
Who's that?
Ron Weasley.
Oh, do we know him?
Harry Potter.
Well, Harry Potter, or Ron. Okay. Now, take those three elements and make a comic out of them. It can be one panel, it can be two panels. Whatever you wanted can happen. It has to have a windy sidewalk, Abraham Lincoln, and Harry Potter in it. So in the space provided, go ahead and do that. And then afterward, we can hand those to our peer and practice giving a peer critique using the terminology. You don't have to do it for the rest of the day. You can just do it a little bit, and then we can social.
So this is Denver of the Checkered Man. Doing the comic. And what's happening in this first panel?
This is Ron reacting to seeing Abraham Lincoln. Although he's British, I don't really. Apparently, he likes Abraham Lincoln.
Who doesn't? That's the question I have.
Both.
Okay. So,
this is Ron, and this is going to be Lincoln reeling back in shock.
you're doing it wrong. You didn't finish Abraham Lincoln's face.
These are thumbnails. You know, I hear that the best parts of the storytelling take place in the thumbnail.
Oh, that sounds very wise.
A wise man once said.
Yeah, it must have been Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And Ron Weasley, and just the opening. Actually make him just sort of appear, maybe like Abe Lincoln sort of appears there. It just sort of goes poof. Yeah, make that a little different.
Oh, he summoned him.
He goes, Abe Lincoln, that's not the right spell. so there he is.
Tell me, Mr. Chincel.
Well, it's exactly as you already predicted. So.
Well, great minds.
I did rearrange the panels.
So
because I, develop it as I work.
And what's happening in panel one?
Well,
strong wind.
His hat gets blown away, so Ron suggests that he provide a new hat, but it's not what Abe Lincoln wanted.
Oh. It's approximate.
But Ron is happy with it.
Yeah, see? Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.